Well, hey, look at this. We're live.
Like magic.
Like magic. Yep. So, Barry, what you been up to, man? It's been a while since we made an appearance on the old interwebs under the banner.
Just pretty much same old stuff. Working on the game, working on the art for the comics, working on my own practices, and then working on, of course, the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
all tore up and ready to go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've not gardened before, right?
No.
New adventures. That's always fun.
Yeah. It's like, I've, my whole, essentially just, not like sound drastic, but like my whole eating, the last many years or few years has just completely changed from what it used to be. Mm-hmm. And gardening is something that will help.
That's true.
Help feed into that. It's healthier, and you don't have to worry about any lovely things that might be sprayed on the vegetables or anything like that. So.
It's also true. Also true.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Like, all the large industry stuff that happens, you don't have to worry about. So there you go.
Yeah. Plus, it gets you out in nature, gets you out in the sun. Gets your hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly. Gets you some. I'm always trying to exercise and stuff, and it keeps you. It's nice workout. Tearing that and digging, having dug for a long time. So,
by the way, I did some checking out on stuff, and the Harbor Freight, they often will have just like a stack of pallets back there, and any of that stuff's free to just take.
Oh shit!
So one of these days we'll have to go out and get you a load of pallets.
Yeah, man. Let me know when you're free. We can just go out there and grab some.
We've got some running around tomorrow. I might be able to fit it in then. I'm officially taking the day off to work on projects around the house and for my mom's getting hitched, So
right.
Yeah. So we got all manner of stuff going on with that. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. How is she doing? How's all that
stuff?
She's
doing pretty good. She's a little frazzled.
I imagine.
So yeah.
It's good stuff though.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, we haven't done one of these things for a while. They were saying
February, I think, was the last one we actually had.
I think so.
Yeah.
And, February is not that long ago, but it feels longer. So
tell me about it. Tell me about it. I haven't even gotten I haven't even finished the one update for the colors for the colored version of the webcomic.
I was doing funny. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I was just saying, I've been so busy.
Yeah, well, I was going to say with the webcomic, I went to the website actually last night, and I couldn't find any of the old stories, like with I just couldn't find the old, like the little short stories that we had done.
Oh yeah, the short box stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of that stuff's up over at Global Comics.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wasn't sure how to code the short box like we had it. It's just so different. So let me see if I can't find our Global Comics link, and I'll just drop it in the chat.
Okay.
So anybody who's out there can look at it. I think I've got. Well, actually, you know what? If you go to our main.
The thing is, I was watching David Finch. I'm sure you know who that is, right?
No.
You don't know who David Finch is?
Not ringing any bells, man.
I think he broke out working for Image back in the day, but he's drawn like the Hulk. He's done just about everything. Let me look up something you like. Anyway, he streams, and he's also working with artists I follow a lot more. I follow his stream, and then I follow his. Wow, I had not noticed that.
Yeah, so check this out here. I've got the website up. I'll just go and cruise to it. You go up here under serials.
Yep. I was on my phone, so I want to see how it worked mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
share
people
it.
were
Off my
pretty
phone.
decent.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, the one I looked it up recently. I've added a bunch of stuff up here that I haven't looked at recently, but yeah, you go here to Forces in Color, takes you to the webtoons, and
Okay.
Ideal Comics on Global Comics, and we've got some free stuff, some paid stuff. Twitless is here.
What's up?
Yeah, you thought I didn't notice.
Oops.
I saw that. I saw like, is that say Tally or Twitless? I haven't.
Twitless, yeah.
I was like, Tally got the beard, man.
That's funny. But yeah, we've got some of the stuff up there. We've got a. Not really checks it out though. Some of it's super free, but oh hey, this one's had 56 views for The Past Never Dies, which most about it's probably just all the like the first 5 free pages.
Yeah, that's all right.
The way it works is the way Global Comics works is the people buy like view tokens per page, and then they can then it spends them as they read comics that have a charge to them. So it gets however many tokens they get out of that. But
Interesting.
yeah. But in the short box section, I've got I'm Not Rob Anymore and The Lady of Shallott's Forces mini story that are both in there.
Okay.
The Lady of Shallott's has gotten 49 views since I looked the last time. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Very nice.
And then I've got also I've got a separate section for Expositioner, and it's got Chasing a Whisper, and it's got the First Day in there. So, but yeah.
Okay. So those are over on there, and so that's cool.
Yep.
So that makes sense. That's why I couldn't find it.
yeah. Well, part of it was like it was around Christmas time. I was checking out this platform, and it's pretty slick to read comics on.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if you know Cody Fernandez, who does the Jack Irons book.
I don't know him. I bought
right.
I think the first Jack Irons and maybe a couple more. But.
Yeah. Anyway, he when they first launched, he was one of the first books to sign on, and he got like tons of like views. And I was like, so I was checking out the platform, and I'm like, this is a fun. If you're going to read comics on the internet, their interface is really fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So check it. I mean, and there's tons of stuff on there too. They've got a pretty active Discord community too, but I don't check in there super often, but I get notifications from not infrequently.
Nice. Yeah, Discord's a good thing. Like I follow a bunch of different artists because I'm always trying to follow. Like it's a good for me to it's something that helps me focus so I don't get too distracted on other things.
Yeah. I also like it that like the discussions are more oriented based on the different forums. So it's not like Twitter where it's just like all of the crap in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I don't even. I have Twitter.
Yeah, I'm pretty much checked out of it right now.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, my point was I was looking for references because I was just in an old-fashioned comic drawing and inking mood because I was tired. I didn't want to be like unproductive last night. So David Finch does like I'll send you this stuff, but he's always black and white. He's his old school pen and ink. He doesn't use any digital when he streams. But I was using.
What I like to say, a Brokeback Mountain relationship with Twitter, where he goes, "I wish I could quit you."
What's that?
I said I was going to say Reese has a Brokeback Mountain relationship with Twitter. I wish I could quit you.
That's funny. I'm sure Reese appreciates that that analogy. It's very accurate, though. I'm not going to say that's not accurate. That's a lot of social media, I think, for a lot of people these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, I was drawing
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was drawing up some immigrant last night, Matt.
Oh, cool.
I was kind of doing like the old classic muscle. It's not really in the style that I draw very much anymore these days, but Yeah, there it is.
My artist for The Adventures of Omega Girl, he does traditional pencils and ink on paper, and then he just scans them into the computer, so he doesn't use a tablet or anything.
Yeah. I've been using a tablet for a few years now, and Matt still comes over and uses my scanner. I have a huge scanner just set up for that reason. But when I switched over to a nicer tablet, like an Ink-On, I can take it with me when I go down to coffee or anything like that. So, and this one's pretty nice, and I can get all that stuff done.
What I was going to say about Twitter, though, is I haven't. The only reason I've been on it at all this week was that.
Did you miss my analogy? My awesome analogy?
No, I heard it.
Okay, right.
he's like, you don't say
no, I had my mic muted because I'm cutting up some bubble wrap, and I didn't want to make a huge noise while I was doing it.
Oh, okay.
But I have a Doug Tenaple got a hold of me and was like, "Dude, check your Twitter. Come on my show." Like. I was like, okay, Doug, and I don't want to be just like, I'm not on Twitter, Doug.
Yeah.
Doug's one of your heroes. It's kind of hard to say no to those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a good conversation too, but I had to get on Twitter to do it.
Yeah. Well, like all social media, it's or anything in general, it's like how we use it. And right now, I think it's almost like it's almost in its pubescent stage where no one. There's no parenting, essentially. There's no responsibility. So, I don't know. I think like a lot of things kind of like settle. And maybe it will never settle, and this is what's going to be always. Or in the past, it would just like either people will get fed up with it and they'd leave it, and the thing would shut down for loss of whatever. But it doesn't seem like Twitter is one of those ones that's going to do that. It's just going to continue on maybe in its crazy-ass format.
I've long suspected that the format of Twitter, like where it's confined to characters, because so many people are just naturally imprecise with their speech, that I think it just lends itself to that kind of chaos.
Can I interject on that? I think that Twitter, like the mobile texting and all that stuff, the last 10 years, let's say, because Twitter's been around since what, 09?
Something like that. Well, I think it's like 7 or something. But anyway.
Yeah. I remember Jesse telling me about it back in the day when I moved here. But I think that's like why people have become like just so sloppy, right? How you said imprecise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people were traditionally like that. Well, we always like cultures evolve, right? There's always like little small dialect changes and stuff. But this is definitely encouraged people to be not precise in any way at all.
Yeah, we don't have a letter writing culture. We have a hot take culture.
Yeah. That's the like, I don't want to go off on a huge tangent, but that's the biggest thing. Like right there is hot takes. What's your take? What's your 2-second sense of this? And it's what can you say in 2 seconds? It'd be nice if people could actually not say anything, because like that's traditionally something smart. Is that Tally's?
This is one of Tally's here. It's a grab it strip that we're gonna have up on the Patreon when it gets colored. But I thought I'd work on it some tonight.
Okay, nice.
Just grab it, the rabbit superhero.
And Twitless, I'm not sure if we've been formally introduced. My name is Barry. By the way, I'm not sure if have we met?
I don't know if we have.
Okay.
I don't think so. Nice to meet you, Barry.
Nice to meet you, man. Yeah.
I've been on the matriarchy. I always say matriarchy for some reason. A few times.
No, every once in a while, like I catch a little bit of live, or I catch the follow-ups. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Barry's usually working on Thursdays. So.
Yep, I work Thursdays. Like almost Thursday and Friday, I'm almost always guaranteed to work, no matter how much my stupid schedule changes. I'm always gonna be working those days.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is this the secondary stream?
Yeah.
Mondays.
This was what we've for a while, we just sort of got into the habit of like broadcasting our little staff get-togethers as an excuse to do something while we're working on projects.
That makes sense.
And I'm hosting it on my main channel right now just because I'm too lazy to log out of StreamYards and log back in. So
yeah, we actually started this before Matt started Matriarchy.
Yeah, yep. Matriarchy.
You did it too.
Yeah, I know.
He does it on purpose, though. Barry just likes to get my goat.
You know, it's a slip of the tongue and some of that too. Originally, but yeah, no. Well, you know, I mean, maybe it's just my accent, Matt. It's my West Coast accent.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you bigot.
Washington. Yeah, it's ethnocentrism. That's what it is. I had a stupid. I shouldn't just say that. I had a training for work that was I just did that was like, you know, how to deal in a, you know, cross-cultural workplace.
Oh Jesus, no, you were right the first time.
Well, and it wasn't. And I mean, it's not bad stuff, but the problem is like it came with its own like vocabulary. So like this test was different from some of the other ones because you could test out of it if you took the pre-test high enough. But it had its own vocabulary, so I was like, you know, blah 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 high context culture, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But once I went through the lessons and explained it, I was like, oh yeah, that's how I was shy of having to take it by 1 point, because that's what I missed it by. It was the margin was 1 point.
Right.
That's
so I was
funny.
just like,
you weren't paying attention. You know, you could have tested out maybe.
well, I mean, if I had taken the lesson plan first, I mean, just the definition of those two terms defined everything else about it, and I was like, oh
yeah.
Well, I thank you, obscure like sociology professor, who's like, it's like somebody got hired.
It's probably a team. I'm sure it's like a team of people.
I think I'm familiar with high context. That's China, right? Where
yeah.
So
yeah,
I might have been able to get out of that training.
Yeah. You probably have to go through all of that for your work.
Yeah. Supposedly.
The one thing about the test that I thought was really silly was it one of the big arguments that it made was that you know, high context cultures are about building relationships. Low context cultures are about relaying information. And I'm like if you never, and like, so, and this was all in like it was framed in like a business setting. So like, if you're trying to sell something, and I'm like, you never sell anything in America, like anything notable, anything big in America without building a relationship first. Right. Like everything a car dealer does is to trick you into thinking that you can trust them. It's all about relationship.
Well, that's just it's a trust factor, you know, because everyone's trying to sell something.
Yeah, but there, to be fair, there are big differences in how the high context, low context operates. So that's kind of I'm
just saying, like the nature of like trying to frame, you know, this high context about being relationships, while low context isn't. Well, no, it's all about relationship. It's just about how you know, do different stuff inside the context of. I mean, what are the building blocks of relationship? Those
a lot of it also goes to the fact China has 4 tones for every single word. So again, how you say it matters just as much as what you're saying. That's one of the big differences.
Yeah. And that's even important in our culture.
Well, and like I was, you know, in Japanese, like
I'll be right back.
The word, this was something I found really interesting in reading Asagi Yojimbo recently. I was reading some of the background letters, and he had a story called She, and it was about 4 assassins, and he had to explain that it's a joke, but it's not an accurate joke, because she means 4, right? Or she can mean like death,
right? Japanese, yeah.
But you don't count people the same way you wouldn't use she to count people. So it's not an accurate joke, right? It's still a reference, but it's like that's not the word you'd use to count people. You use a different word, and I can't remember what that one is. But you use she to count like pencils or something like that. So it's like a very specific kind. They have different counting systems for different kinds of things. And I was like, well, that's needlessly complex.
Yep.
I'm starting to see why they use so much Anglo script on everything now. It's just gotta break it down a little bit, maybe. that's probably not cool.
Yes, you're a very bad person. You've committed social crimes.
Well, I tell you, yeah, probably. So what are you up to, man?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I'm working. And I'm trying to find some time to do some lettering for issue 2 of Omega Girl, because I want to get that out by the end of the summer. So that's going to take me a little time, though. Other than that, like I said, just chilling, having fun.
Cool.
Play a lot of League of Legends, which I probably shouldn't.
That's just fine.
Yeah,
I haven't played that game, but that game is huge from like just the community, from like the culture to people cosplaying. Like there's a girl that cosplays some of the characters from that, and she
probably does Sona. Sona's really popular to cosplay. Actually, there's like 100 characters you could probably cosplay as, but I've seen Sona at conventions before.
Yeah, I'm not familiar at all. Like, well, this girl, she had to have gone to school for engineering or something, because she not only owns major large 3D printers, like the large ones, but she fixes them whenever they break down, which is quite often. Yeah, it's that girl that I showed you a long time ago when we were.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
She's quite, she's lovely. She's German, but she's not like, like just one of those gals that's pretty and that's just how they make it, right? She builds everything. Like she built the most recent thing that she built. What was it?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I know. Well, she's on Instagram. Anyway.
I guess I was there. I just don't pay attention.
There you go. But I'm sorry if I cut you off, Twitless. But I was saying that it's pretty impressive. Like it's one of those things that I've actually never gotten into for gaming, because I rather enjoy gaming. But Matt, I was gonna say, were you correcting Stan Sake?
No, I was explaining something he explained in the liner notes. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that's correct. If I would know better than a native of Japan.
No, he said that. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah, he's great. He's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah, but he mentions it. I don't know if somebody had called him out on it before they did the collected edition.
Oh, okay.
Specifically, he mentioned it. He's like, this is why I did it this way, and blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm sure he was correcting him. But
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure someone's like said something about it as they do.
He's like, I know, but it's you don't get the foreshadowing if you don't go with the joke.
Exactly. Yeah. Some jokes you have to let go of some of the.
It's literary. Just
rules.
Let it go, man. So yeah, I wasn't correcting him. I was relating his story.
That's funny. He's a good guy. I like to follow him.
Oh, and he's brilliant. Oh my god.
We're talking about the guy from Usagi Yojimbo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
So good. Well, and it's so great too. Like, when you talk about like comics versus manga, like people get all frothy about it, right?
He's kind of blending the two in a way.
And it's just both. It's just comics. And it's like, but it's so Japanese, and I'm like, you're just shut up. I have no patience for nonsense.
Is there a thing about it or something?
Oh, there are some people that are just like, comics aren't manga. Manga aren't comics.
Oh.
And I'm just like, yeah, okay. It's like squares and rectangles,
Their shapes, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But rectangles squares are rectangles, but rectangles aren't necessarily squares.
Right,
so,
right.
Comics is a medium, and we use the word comics in English to talk about
right. It's just part of our culture, whereas their culture.
It's part of their culture, but the terms they use are the terms they use, so they wouldn't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
it would,
it's a language thing. And but like here in America, we'll talk about manga because we're specifically referring to Japanese comics, just like we'd use fumetti if we're talking about Italian comics. But they're still comics. We still define them by saying, "Oh, they're Japanese comics." Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things that like I think like certain weebs were just like, we can't take our special thing away.
Well, that's just, like that happens with anything, right? Like sports people do the same thing about anyone has to raise a stink about something. Sometimes it seems like, and there's the part that don't care, and they scare, and there's the part like, oh, I want to make a difference about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is my battle.
So it's usually a good idea to not get too hooked on video games if you want to be productive in comics. But I will say that some games I have found to be slightly helpful in terms of like some idea generation, and League is one of them because it's got like what 200, almost 200 characters in it, and each character is very much like a concept, and so there's a lot of because there's a cast of like 200 characters, you can get a lot of just inspiration sometimes of just, oh, this character's just really cool. He does cool things and they got a cool voice actor. And sometimes it can be very inspirational for, idea generation. And so I guess that's a very weak justification for wasting hours of your life on video games, but it works for me. So,
well, I mean, sometimes it really comes down to it. You got to think about just like, figuring out like how you balance your brain space, because I mean, as much as we'd like to just all be super creative all the time, like we can't necessarily, and especially those of us who have day jobs, sometimes you got to figure out how to shut off all the crap that didn't get done.
That's just it.
But the trick is like for me, I know like if I sit down to like play, Fallout or something, that's the day. I mean, that's just. It's my own problems or whatever, but like that's the day. I just won't get anything else done that day. So
right,
I've got to be able to say, okay, this is my day of rest. I'm gonna go, shoot zombies today, and then tomorrow get up and rise again.
Oh, that's just it, right? Like very few people, unless you're taking often illegal substances to keep yourself just insanely focused and go. Very few people can just have that built into them, or have, and usually it's from like an early age that you're just a machine and you just go, and sometimes maybe that's just like you're just so integrated into it, so that it's not it's just fine. No, you don't have to justify anything like that. I don't think a lot of people have their outlets one way or another, and often it's something they care about that's often very close to the same medium they also work really hard into. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like Trent Kanyuga, and it's also like it's also enriching, like right, like games are a very creative, and it's a good enriching environment often. Trent Kanyuga, a guy who I follow, who did Creed comic, and he's actually doing a relaunch on Indiegogo for his classic Creed comics he used to do back in the late 90s. He's actually, I did not know he's friends with that. What was that? One dude from Comicsgate, Matt, one of the main guys.
Oh, I don't know. Which one?
Ethan Van Sciver?
Ethan, yeah. Him and Ethan go way back to when they were kids.
Oh, were they both on the Harris thing back in the day?
I think so, yeah. I know. I think, well, I don't know. I can't remember who published Creed.
Yeah, that was Harris.
I think it was Harris, yeah. And so that's how
I don't know why I know that, but I do know it's true.
Yeah, no, good on you. So Trent's a real chill, easygoing guy and stuff, and he has tons of packs on what's it called? One of the many learning tools you can get onto and subscribe to him, but he's always like, he's always playing games and saying, I learned this or whatever, because he's worked in games. He worked for Blizzard. He worked on Diablo 3. He's done a lot of it within the creative realm. So
real talk, the games that I think are actually really beneficial for comic book and artwork and stuff is role playing games. I think those are excellent for storytelling. I actually think that role playing may be just as important as reading, good stuff. Because some people are like, oh, read this book. Read this book on how to write. And I'm like, reading a book on how to write isn't going to teach you how to write. It really isn't. Like, it'll give you some tips, but you got to read, good material, learn what you like, learn what you don't like, and then you learn by getting your hands dirty.
Yeah.
The other stuff supplemental, it can be helpful, but like I read all the books on how to write. There's so many critics who've read the books on how to do a thing, and then the minute they do it, it's like it's a mess, and that's because I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I'm just saying that it's just something you notice.
I am.
Oh, okay. Well, it's because I read a great quote once, and it was someone from I forget who it was, and he said every writer has like, was it 10,000 words of garbage that you have to write through before you start writing something good. So it doesn't matter how much you've read, you still have to work your way through your 10,000 words of garbage. And that was very encouraging because it's just, it's just something you got to do. But role playing where you have to story tell with an audience, I think is really important. And I learned a lot about how to, just even recently, I learned about how to just, write certain things better because I was having to, ping off of other people in my, small group of, role players, make things interesting for them or, change things on the fly and stuff. And I was like, it made me a better writer. And I think it's a really good tool.
That's interesting.
I would agree. That there are a lot of benefits to that. In fact, question on what you necessarily think of the dude's demeanor, but I don't think anyone can question John Delarose's speed at which he writes. The man just pumps some stories out like they're that conveyor belt from the Lucy show. Just
some people are machines. Yeah.
He just really is. And he says that, he played D&D, in basements for like 30 years. And he said, that's just the ticket is since I always was having to DM because no one else wanted to, that I just had to crank it. And that just gave me the leg up.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it also teaches you a lot about, because, a lot of people who are creators, like they have a story they want to tell, a character they want to tell. And then, if you just write it down, people might go, this is terrible, I hate this. But if you're role playing at first, you'll probably pick that up and you'll learn how to like make your characters more interesting, more compelling, more tolerable, depending on the type of character. So yeah. Oh, Neostar's in the chat. So
Neo. Hey Neo, how's it going, man? I didn't even see that. I'm on a different screen. So
yeah, I don't see. Is it on here? Because I don't see any. Oh, we're on private. There we are.
Neostar says, I never really played League of Legends. But I really love a lot of the character designs. Yeah, see, that's the cool part is like I've gotten so much out of League because like they have, like I said, it's just shy, I think, of 200 champs, 200 characters. And there's sci-fi characters, there's cute characters, there's medieval characters. And they all just, because they all have to be really compelling from a gameplay standpoint, they call it the gameplay fantasy. And so they really boil down the character creation aspect of, you want to play an angel, play Kale. This glorious angel who can divine retribution from the heavens. There's this angelic character named Kale who's just right up your alley.
I didn't know I was a character in League of Legends.
Oh my
god! I'm
so
humbled.
There's that.
Yeah.
And then if you want to play like a big giant like eldritch monster, you can play Cho'Gath. So they basically have something for everyone, which is really rare because a lot of video games, it's like, okay, we have a cast of, a certain amount of characters that only fit a few people's fantasy. Where in League of Legends, it's like there is a character to fit your core desires. If you want to play the sexy, hot, like assassin chick, there's one of those. If you want to play a big, giant, like monolith rock guy, there's one of those. There's basically you want to play a lizard guy, there's one of those. There's something for everyone. So that the character design aspect, they really kind of did an extremely good job. People could complain about the game balance because I think people say Dota 2, which is its kind of rival game, is much better balanced. That's probably correct. But in terms of just like the design of the characters and so on, League is miles ahead. So it's like I said, it's really cool to just sometimes get inspired by, what, I need a character like this in my comic or in my thing. So.
No, it makes sense for sure.
So if anything, I encourage people to if you're needing some inspiration, just look through they have a website for their universe, and you just look through the champs and go, that guy looks cool. What's he do? What's his thing?
To your point about like even like the D&D stuff or role playing, there's a lot of guys I know that write, just write for games that started out. Actually, that was what they were doing when they were growing up with their friends.
Yep.
And now they write like a lot of big stories for a lot of big AAA games and stuff.
No, totally. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you gotta. I did get a very good piece of advice when I was at a comic book convention, and the guy said, "If you want to make comics, put your PlayStation away." And it was very good advice because video games do tend to just time suck. But
Yep.
I think there are things you can take away from gaming because some people get so binary with it. And it's like, oh, don't ever game if you want to be a creative or whatever, or they look down on games. And it's like, nah, there's stuff to take away from it.
Yeah, it all depends on the game that you're playing. I think a lot of it.
Well, I think, there's a lot of context to it too, especially like that. But yeah, games are one of those things like, most things we can't keep on doing because in some way they physically drain us.
Mm-hmm.
Games have enough of that little stimulation creatively that it doesn't really drain you, right? You just keep on going and going and going. So working outside, it will drain you physically, or working on a big project with art or writing will drain you mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Games somehow have that balance where in enough stimulation, I think, that they just don't. There's very little drain that happens.
Yeah, I'm an addictive personality, so I'm terrible. I am the person who the advice put the game away is probably a good meant for.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely there for a reason. But yeah, I gotcha.
But I will say that there's lots of cool things ideas I've gotten away from games. So like I said, League has just great character designs. I love the setting and lore of Resident Evil, if anyone's ever played those. I love the biological horror plus the basically superpowers that they all get. There's some
that's what that fellow Trent he was talking about. Like Capcom, I think, sent him like some sort of box set and the art from the game, the most recent one.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going through, he just breaking down the art, and most of what he was talking about, what I was surprised is how much of it was kit bashed. Like he's like, this wasn't. It's made to look like it's painted or sketched,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all just kit bashing of actual illustrations that are artistically designed to look like a sketch, like it's a actual.
What do you mean by kit bashing?
What's that?
What do you mean by kit bashing?
You take multiple pictures in either 3D or 2D, render them all together, like actual. Like if I was going to take like pictures of tanks and a military guy, and take pieces of them off and make him like Iron Man or make him a mech.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, there was some Resident Evil 8. I watched a playthrough or a chunk of the playthrough of that, and that one kind of went off the rails. I've followed Resident Evil for quite a while. I don't know if did you see anything from Resident Evil 8?
Yeah, I'm not like I don't ever play the games, but I'm very familiar with them because of one of our mutual friends, Chris.
Chris.
he loves them, and so I'm familiar with the lore and all that stuff through him also. But yeah, like eight was pretty funky with where it went.
Yeah, it was. If you want superpowers, literally Resident Evil 8 just gives you characters superpowers by the end of it. There's basically a character who is just Magneto at the end, and it doesn't fit the aesthetic of Resident Evil at all because it's basically about like zombie viruses and stuff. Most of the game series, so the powers that enemies would get even at the end of a game would be more like biological in nature. They'd turn to like a big monster with like, cellular regeneration and mutation. Like that was the aesthetic they were going with. So when Resident Evil 8 comes along, and at the end of the game, you're just fighting a guy who's Magneto, and he's created like it's Heisenberg. Yeah. And he just creates this metal armor monstrosity, and he's just, just magnets and magnetism. It's just like, what? And it's like, well, it's fine because we injected him with a mold virus thingy, and that's where he got his superpowers from. And it's like, this is just superheroes at this point. And you fight the guy in a tank, but it's like this crazy like mech tank, and it's so far from where it began.
Sounds like Metal Gear.
It is, yeah. It's yeah. but it's far less grounded because Metal Gear would be they give characters like weird powers, but they would be just just grounded enough to be quasi believable.
Yeah, and that's
like,
that universe too. So I mean,
yeah. So like they had Vamp, who is like he's like kind of immortal, kind of like a vampire, but it's just nanomachines just reconstructing his body. So it's like, oh, I see, it's not really magic or anything. But yeah, this was just like full on like Magneto. To be fair, for zombies are more of a product of them trying to create genetic super soldiers. Yeah, that's true, but like the powers that they had were still so much grounded in biological stuff. Like a villain would be able to like mutate into his final grotesque form and then stretch his arms out. It was very biological. And Resident Evil 8's just like, yeah, he control magnetism.
Maybe you just have too small a view of what science can do.
I know. I do not. I just
disbeliever.
I like aesthetic consistency, and Resident Evil has an aesthetic consistency through most of the series, but Resident Evil 7 and 8 derailed it pretty hard.
It's like you just don't want to get the virus. You just don't want to get the vaccine. I mean,
oh, that's right. I'm an anti-vax. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay, you got me. I mean, to be fair, like things started going off the rails in Resident Evil 6. But they were still mostly consistent. And then 7 comes out and it's like mold. And it's like, okay.
Mold. That's amazing.
It's just there's still some cool looking stuff though. Resident Evil is probably one of Capcom's like longest running, most successful franchises. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's kind of a shame because they've unfortunately let down the Mega Man franchise in a couple places.
Oh man,
partly because of that. Yeah,
there was a lot of classic ones. Yeah,
the one that they really let down was Mega Man Legends. If anyone played that for PlayStation, one of the best examples of cell shading. The game is 20 years old and it hasn't like aged a day. Like, let me pull this up. Let me pull up an image from Mega Man Legends. You'll be shocked at how this is a game from like the 90s. And it really speaks to the power of cell shading.
I love cell shading. I'm not even kidding.
Let me find an image here that's a good one. Well, hold on. I need to find a better one. Okay, so Mega Man Legends was from... I hate how finding images can be difficult because I find an image and then it's like you click on it in a new tab and the image is like, tiny and you can't really share that.
Yeah. Finding one that's high, large enough.
Yeah, okay. So open image in new tab. No, I said open image in new tab. There we go. Yeah, this is perfect. Although maybe that one isn't.
Maybe it's not perfect after all.
Well, no, I think it's too perfect. So I want it like that. I think that one was like someone had like scaled it up to HD, and I'm like, I actually want to pull one of the images that's not as perfect to still demonstrate how good the game looks. All right, I found it. All right. So yeah. Alrighty. Took me a hot minute. Yeah, take a look at that.
Okay, here we go.
This is a game from 1997.
It was a classic. I stopped playing Mega Man, I think, back in like the early 90s.
Sure.
90s.
I'm just mostly bringing this up to show this is a game from 1997. Yeah. This game, in essence, has not aged today, and it's all down to the fact that the cell shading art style just like it just made it like everlasting.
Right.
The game looks
Yeah, they kept it simple. Yeah.
yeah, the game looks incredible, and it's like I said, it's what, over 20 years old.
Yeah.
Neostar says the other villains in Resident Evil essentially became mutated beasts, like a giant clawed woman or a Quasimodo mermaid mashup. That is correct. Yeah, that's how it should have been. I missed the Mega Man franchise, including Legends. Yeah, we were supposed to get a third game, and they just dropped the ball on it. They brought back the Legends version of Mega Man in Tatsunoko versus Capcom 9 years ago. Well, if we want to be actually technical, I think that the Mega Man Legends version shows up in one of the Marvel versus Capcom games. I think it's Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, and it's like Mega Man's Ultimate or something. Or wait, I think it might be Super Smash Brothers that I'm thinking of. I think it's Super Smash Ultimate, and it's Mega Man's final smash attack, and all of the versions of Mega Man show up and like shoot you with a laser. So
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, so there's my actually nerd out moment.
You're allowed one per stream.
There we go. So yeah, the franchise that I was partial to for the longest time and still am is actually the Sonic the Hedgehog series.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
This is Tally. You're messing with me.
Yeah, my boy Taliesin.
Oh, is it? Is he a big Sonic fan?
Sonic fan. Yeah.
So like, what's funny is that like I like everything except for Sonic.
You like everything in the franchise except for Sonic.
So it's so funny because like Sonic was like the least favorite part of Sonic to me. I started playing the games with Sonic and Knuckles, and the character I like is Knuckles. Knuckles is fantastic. He's one of the coolest characters in like side-scrolling games ever. Because he can climb walls and glide and do all these cool things and break level design. And Sonic just runs and jumps. And also like later on in a lot of the media, Sonic was just really obnoxious. Mm-hmm. And that was his personality. He was just obnoxious, which was what made the new movie such a surprise because they made Sonic likable for once. And I was very surprised. He's the best part of that movie. I don't care what people say about Jim Carrey is a Robotnik.
No, Jim Carrey was far too Jim Carrey to be a good Robotnik.
He wasn't bad. I thought he was okay.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't say he was bad. I just said he wasn't good.
What was weird was the fact that some people were saying he was the only, like they're like, oh, he carried the movie, and I was like,
that's because they're Jim Carrey fans.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, I don't think he was not the worst part of that movie by any means. I thought he was fine, I think is where I kind of fell on it, but I was like, he did not carry the movie. Sonic's puppy dog eyes attitude carried the movie.
Well, it was the need to belong, whole thing, and the fact that they did such a great job of having the humans interact with the puppet in a way that felt really believable.
Well, they made him a dog. They went with the puppy dog story. They made Sonic essentially the. If you basically rewrite Sonic the Hedgehog the movie and just replace him with just like an animated talking dog, like a puppy, he's basically, that's what he is. He's just like, oh, sweet puppy dog eyes. Oh, please love me. And it's like,
because he's that's one of the great things they did with that whole thing is that he's somebody who wants to belong, and here we have this adorable couple that want to have a family, so everybody gets what they want,
right? Yeah, and they tapped into that primal, like people like dogs and puppies.
Yeah,
so they had Sonic. They gave Sonic puppy dog eyes,
and this puppy's a lost child.
Right,
so
exactly. Yeah. So that carried the
Oliver Twist and the Homeward Bound of the American.
Homeward Bound.
Right. That carried the film by leaps and bounds. Robotnik was quirky, which I'm okay with. He can be a very boring character at times if he's just played as standard mad scientist.
Yeah, they need something with it.
Yeah, they needed to do something with him. But I will say this: if this is it was kind of irritating in the sense of, oh, this is another origin story in a sense. But when they at the very end of the film when he's just Robotnik and he has the crazy mustache, I was genuinely looking forward to seeing him play Robotnik more, because I was like, okay, he's finally embraced this, this persona that we know, and I'm like, I think that in the sequel, I'm crossing my fingers. I think that we could get some good stuff out of him, because we no longer have to have the arc of him becoming the character. He's just the character.
Yeah. And the one thing about that movie too is it's like and for me, and this is maybe weird, but this is the only thing from Hollywood that like I'm at all interested in. Because the only reason I was interested in it was because, there's two reasons. One, that my boy is such a huge Sonic fan, and he just loves the stuff, which is weird, but okay.
But we all have our thing, man.
Yeah, we all have our thing. Exactly. And it's also like it's right up Tolly's alley too, because like Tolly has always loved like things that are cute and things that are like unexpectedly like weird, like like Darth Vader as a rabbit would have been like 3-year-old Tolly Essen's favorite thing.
Right.
Like, and the kind of thing where it's like it's cute, but it also looks like it could kill you. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
So, Neostar says Nintendo did more with Mega Man in one game than Capcom did in a decade. That is sadly probably accurate. Although Capcom has come out with a couple of weird Mega Man games here and there for like stuff like the PSP that no one remembers here and there. Sonic was originally written as a contrast to Mario, so he was supposed to be a hip teenager with attitude. So I know that's the way he appears in a lot of the side media, but in the video games, he's portrayed far more Mario-like in being a straightforward adventure positive character. If you look at the box art for like Sonic in like Japan, he's much more like, bright and cheerful. It's in the during the 90s in America, back when we were all edgy and extreme. That's where the marketing for Sonic ends up getting way more attitude.
Well,
that was Sega of America. That was Sega of America's take on the character. If you watch his anime,
the OVA. I love that. Yeah, it's one of my favorite.
Completely different. So and that's that's a funny contrast of culture too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, Sega of America, or American people not understanding their audiences to a degree.
Well, I think
because it wasn't his. Because I was there, it wasn't his edginess that drew people to him. It was just like he was really flipping fast, and it was a bright and colorful. Like, it was beautiful games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was beautiful level design, and it was really engaging.
Yep.
And I think he could have been like kids that were growing up with Mario were teenagers at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense to a degree, but I think he could have been edgy or not edgy or anything like that, and it would have been successful.
Yeah. So Reese, I know you're a big lore guy and you love interconnected universes. Did you know that every single Mega Man game is part of one giant continuity?
I did, but only because my son, who also loves Mega Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like the entire thing. So like Mega Man Legends with all that bright cell shading, that like story takes place like 1,000 years or something into the future, past Mega Man X, which is the ones for the Super Nintendo.
Right.
After the world has basically blown itself up in post-apocalyptic fashion, and the whole world is basically covered with water, and the survivors are like not even people anymore. They're called carbons. They're like this weird mixture of like not quite, they're like human but quasi-synthetic life. And so, like, again, all the way back from the 8-bit fighting Dr. Wily to Mega Man Legends, after the whole world essentially ends. So, like, when you read between...
China finally drops the bomb.
When you finally read between the lines, the lore, it's like, it's super dark, but then, these games are so cheerful at times. It's really interesting. So, yeah, the lore of Mega Man is something pretty... The only lore that I think starts beating it is when you get into stuff like the weird anime games, like I think it's the Fate Stay series. I cannot understand for the life of me. The lore is too complex. You need an encyclopedia for it. But
when they get too convoluted, that's kind of when I check out.
Right.
But I would have probably ate up when I was younger for sure.
Yeah, don't try to understand Fate Stay Night, I think it's called, because it's the multiple timelines that exist like concurrently with that. I can't even wrap my head around it at all. Can't even try. But yeah, Mega Man's got some crazy lore. So does Legend of Zelda, surprisingly.
Yeah. My other son is just like he looks like Link. So he's won several. He's won several costume contests, like at cons and stuff, because he has a couple of pretty wicked Link costumes, but he also like actually has that face and hair. And so yeah, he just is Link, but he's heavy into the lore of that, and he'll just like talk about it and like the nature of the Hyrulean Trinity, and like I think he was thinking about doing a comparative religion essay at one point. I don't know if he ever did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's he's really into that.
Yeah, and speaking of cell shading, because the Wind Waker, some people had some visceral reactions to that one, but Wind Waker will age just as well as Mega Man Legends because of the cell shading. So in 20 years, that game will look still just as good as it pretty much does today.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the kids.
Well, I
should have brought him on for this episode.
Yeah,
we could
have. Yeah. So my game was with Sonic. I played the Sonic and Knuckles, where you had to connect two of the games together. You had to take Sonic 3 and stick it on the top of Sonic and Knuckles to unlock the full game.
That's a nice ploy.
It really was. Yeah, that was back in the day when everything was so gimmicky, and it was like, take this game and stick it on top of this one, and blast processing, and
like that's a thing.
I remember I a fellow kid when I was a child was talking just like, oh my gosh, blast processing. It's just like, it's just revolutionary. He was just so sold on it. And it's turned out to be like nothing.
Well, like I remember being, young at one point, and just like that, those things that connect to the games that you like Matt, like with the boys that like Sonic and Link, that stuff was just awesome, like especially when when it would actually work. So often that stuff didn't work, especially back then.
Like the 32X, the 32X didn't work for me. It took forever to get that thing to work. Yeah.
What was the Nintendo had this is really old, but Nintendo had a
Virtual
3D,
Boy?
Yeah.
The Virtual Boy, yeah.
Virtual Boy. Yeah, that was crap.
I played that once, and it's like the worst thing ever. You get like a very slight 3D effect from it, and like the whole thing's in like the color red, which is like the worst color ever to play video games with.
Yeah,
your eyes just want to bleed.
That's the thing that puzzled me most about that, was the decision of like what just made people decide those specific colors.
There's gonna be a reason. You should look it up. That'd be an interesting one.
I have a comic book character that I want to create for my comic book universe after I get Omega Girl really off the ground. I've got two names I'm going with. One of them is Retro, the other one is Cartridge. And essentially his superpowers, he's got this kind of like quasi-magical power glove, essentially. It's so bad. And the glove can basically take old retro style cartridges, and then he gets superpowers based upon the games that he the games he puts into the glove. So if he puts in a centipede like game, he can basically create a sort of like a holographic centipede monster thing, and powers like that. So but the point of it is that the cartridges are hard to find because it's this old power glove, and it's from this old like console or whatever that is out of date, and the cartridges only last a certain amount of time before they run out of juice, and then he loses the powers. So he basically has to keep on scrounging for these old video games, and occasionally he gets like a really good one. He has to save those for like boss fights and so on. So I love creating interesting interactions for the superpowers, and so I'm looking forward to fleshing out. I think I'm leaning towards calling him Cartridge at this point because it's he uses cartridges.
Like
yeah.
Hey Matt, I just thought of a new character for Ideal Comics.
Yeah, I know. It'd actually be really great to have a rivalry between cartridge and Game Boy.
There you go.
So,
Game on.
by the way, I know comics, the IC Jam original character Don't Steal.
Oh yeah, OC. Yeah, do not steal. There you go.
Throw out there.
Copyright 2021.
All rights reserved.
Nothing personnel, kid.
Messed up, man.
But yeah. So
not as funny as I think it is, but I'm loving it anyway.
Are you familiar with where that came from? Because like that whole like original character "Do Not Steal" it comes from this meme of a Sonic fan character.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're familiar with that one? Okay.
I mean, I didn't know it was a specific one, but I knew like that was a thing on like DeviantArt where like
Yeah. Because that's where one of the major fan communities for Sonic original supposedly characters. So it's called Cold Steel the Hedgehog, and I don't. Some people think it might have been just a troll, but it's like it's like a purple palette swap of Sonic, and he just looks super edgy, and he's like Cold Steel the Hedgehog, and they're like original character Do Not Steal, and he's like nothing personnel, kid. A lot of that comes from was it Sonic Adventure 2 when they came out with Shadow the Hedgehog, who was just he was Sonic but even edgier. He's basically he was everything that the 90s marketing was supposed to make Sonic, but it's actually a canon character.
They had to have
We've succeeded
for Sonic to push up against.
See, it's just like they already had that though, because Knuckles was supposedly the more edgier character. You know what I mean? Like it just everything that Shadow was in terms of like a good foil, Knuckles is. And I think they introduced him partially because they wanted to do the whole like good story, bad story, and Knuckles had at that point pretty much just joined the good guys. The rivalry was pretty much he's just a helper at that point.
Yeah, he was just one of the crew of that.
Yeah. But Knuckles is my man. He's awesome. I'm super excited. Did you see the set art or the set photo of the new movie? They caught a picture of the plastic stand-ins they use for the CGI models.
I guess I did see that after all.
Yeah. So they had Sonic, Tails, and then Knuckles is there. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, they hinted at it because I'm sure you guys noticed it. The very first couple minutes of Sonic the movie, when Sonic's getting attacked or like by those.
Okay,
evil...
so quick. I haven't seen the movie, and I was going to ask you guys before we go on. Is it worth watching?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, like I gave up on watching a lot of video game movies because
they suck.
Yeah, man. Like when you can make like a boring Tomb Raider or anything like that, that's pretty bad. So
I don't think it's hard to make a boring Tomb Raider.
It's on Amazon Prime.
I love Indiana Jones.
For one reason, it's been done several times, so I find it pretty easy to believe it's easy to.
All right, yeah. Anyway, so Sonic is pretty solid though, huh?
It's especially if you do it like Netflix or it's on Amazon Prime, I think.
Or you can just come over next time we watch it, maybe.
Oh yeah.
We have it, and you live here, so
right.
So in the opening scene, Reese, did you notice that there's a bunch of echidnas that are attacking? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it was definitely they're like, okay, Knuckles is in the universe. It was very, very clear. But let's see here. Neostar says Game Boy versus cartridge. I'd read that. So there we go. We got one reader already. Captain N versus Lucas Wizard.
You'll make it so easy for him, bro.
Yeah. And then he says, I personally don't like Shadow's inclusion. I liked it better when Knuckles was Sonic's rival. Now he has nothing better to do. When was the last time he even mentioned the Master Emerald? Well, Sonic Adventure 2 and
you've got an actual answer to the question.
Let's see.
Decades ago.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while. Like they'll partially mention it in passing. I think the last time it was relevant in lore was probably Sonic Adventure 2. It might have shown up in Sonic Forces. I haven't played that one. I know in the promotional animations for Sonic Mania, it shows up, and it's fairly important. But that's a side thing. back in the GameCube days. Well, again, like I said, Sonic Mania, if you watch the promo animations, Knuckles is all about protecting that Master Emerald, but
Yeah, but
that
the
might be a little bit of a
GameCube
stretch.
days was a long time ago. Dude, that was before I was married.
Oh, jeez. Well, Sonic Mania just came out. That was the new game that was the throwback to the classic Sonic games. And it was side-scrolling. It was made by fans of the original series. They used a lot of the old, level designs and stuff and remixed stuff. So it was very well received. It's considered one of the top Sonic games pretty much ever at this point because it was just made by people who just loved the series and knew what to do with it. It's a great story of people who were fans of a property who finally were able to kind of get their hands on it and then show how much they love it and not deconstruct it, but just to reconstruct it in a sense. Because a lot of people had noticed that Sonic had kind of gotten derailed in gameplay and stuff over the years.
That's cool.
Like the time he turned into a werewolf and stuff. The whole game, he's just a werewolf. It's like
it's not the whole game; it's half the game.
Oh, okay.
So I do have to say one thing about that because my Tolly talked my ear off about that about 6 months ago.
Oh, really?
He says I'm not sure it's a Sonic game, but if you can get past that, the gameplay is intriguing and different, and that's something.
Is that the werewolf one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said it's not a Sonic game. It's something different, but it is something different. it's kind of fun if you could, forget that it's a Sonic game.
Sonic the Werehog. It's just the weirdest thing ever. It's like, okay, so we're doing that.
That's awesome.
Lord of mercy.
Horribly, horribly awesome.
Well, folks, I have to go.
All right.
So, before we take off, I'm sharing off this picture here. This thing. This is going to be up on Patreon later this week, all colored up and everything. And so, if you're a patron, you'll get to see the finished version. Otherwise, not for a while. So. We'll probably share these around after they've got a good chance for our patrons to take a look at it. And there's not a lot of patrons. We're always looking for more. So if you guys feel like you want to believe in the cause, go ahead and check it out. And I thought I had a link to our Patreon on the thing. I don't. Huh.
If you want to give us money, we will not dissuade you.
Yeah. It's
right
let's see here. I'll make one quick.
You're too slow.
Right there. Look at that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had to edit the Brian Ball's Patreon from the last time he was on the show.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was like, well, that'll be faster. But yeah, there you go. Check us out. And other than that, we're gonna actually Neo Stars. I think the only one watching right now. He already is. So thank you, Neo.
I like your avatar, Neo. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, dude, this guy's got so many fun ideas. He's a fun guy. So anyway, unlike you guys who were just dull and boring, and I don't know why.
Well, that's what I took it as. It was contrast. Well, Twitliff, it was good meeting you, man.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
So you get really, really good enriching game conversation.
Yeah.
Those are games I walked away from a long time ago. That's when I got onto the more RPG, like Final Fantasy stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I can talk some of the RPGs too. Although I'm not great at Final Fantasy lore. I played Chrono Trigger. That was my big SquareSoft game that I really liked.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, who was it who was going on was like a huge Chrono Trigger fan?
It's probably me.
No, I don't think it was. I think it might have been. I think it might have been actually either Matt Kratz or number one Marmaduke fan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Who I was talking with, and he was just like, I just got back into playing this again, and it's so amazing." And I'm like, "Dude, calm down."
Well, Chrono Trigger is worth getting excited about. It's just so good. If you
Well,
play
I'll-
one JRPG in your entire life, play Chrono JRPG.
Yeah.
Play Chrono Trigger. I think it's pretty much, I think, the best of the best that it can offer.
Yeah, I think it may have been Marm now thinking about it, and I'm probably misrepresenting his tone, but because he's never that kind of excited.
Oh, okay.
It's different, but I guess I don't have a good number one Marmaduke fan impression, so
Work on it.
yeah, I'll have to work on it. Anyway, I'm going to call it. If you guys, unless you guys want to hang out, but I'm gonna go.
Alrighty, man.
I got stuff I got to do. So,
All right.
Good
Other
luck.
than this,
You
no,
guys.
this is
See you later.
not that this isn't important, but it's not now's issue. I've got to call it. Okay. So later, everybody. We go read IDL Comics.
Yep,
Bye.
thanks for having me. Yep.
Yes, thanks. Oh, and go check out Twitless on his Adventures of Omega Girl there on the Indie Planet.
Yep.
It's really fun. I read it.
Yay.
Bye.
Laters.